How you guys doing? This is Neil from perfectsunled.com, and I'm going to be answering you guys a common question I get all the time, at least twice a day, on my different inboxes and things like that. Where to get seeds? Good question. It's very frustrating in the beginning. I know that. So I'm going to tell you guys exactly where to get seeds. So before I even go to my introduction about what's all going to be in this video, where to get seeds, 420magazine.com. Click on sponsors. You don't have to sign up. You can do it as a guest. See all the banner ads there. Click on a seed company that says ships worldwide, and bam, you're good to go. I'll talk a little bit about the process of how that works and how to do it in a second. Let me go ahead and explain what this video is all about. It's not just about where to get your seeds. That's the main topic, obviously. Other things I'm going to go through is, hey, what are you doing, Neil? What's going on? Where's the next grow? So a little bit about that, what my next grow is going to be, why I have chose to postpone them a little bit, and yeah, so that's a little bit about what I'm going to be talking about. I'll give a little shout out real quick here to my last video. Definitely watch that. If you guys were paying attention to the photo grow that I was doing on the side of Auto Grow This Grow, you know that the photo grow was mostly Laughing Buddha, fantastic strain. I'm going to teach you guys really quickly here, how do you find videos on my channel? Don't search at the top of YouTube, too hard. Search just my channel only. It makes it much easier. All you do is at the bottom right here below the video, Grow Pot Cheaply. Click on my nickname, Grow Pot Cheaply. Boom. That takes you to my homepage. On my homepage, all you got to do is it says like, I don't know, a bunch of shit. I can't remember right there the links. And then it says like about and stuff like that. Click, I think it says like videos or playlists and so forth. Then it says about. Right next to about, there's a little search icon, like a little magnifying glass or loop if you're in the UK area. Click on that, and that allows you to search just my channel, typing Laughing Buddha Review. Boom, you'll know why I like that strain so much. Yeah, it's not the biggest yielder, 3 to 4 ounces or so. You could get more out of it if you really train it and stuff like that, but that's with like just no training, just throw it in a pot. You know, a number 3, for those in the UK, that would be an 8 liter pot, or maybe even number 5, which would be a 13 liter pot. And yeah, that works fantastic, and you're gonna get, you know, you just do more plants, since you know you still get good yield. But if you're limited to plants, then you might want to really grow and strong it, but still don't expect a big yield out of it. It's not a big yielder, but it is the bomb weed. And that's kind of the give or take, you know. It's like the better the weed, it seems like the yield's not as good. You know, the bigger the yield, the weed's not as good. It's a give or take, you know. It's fantastic. So if you don't mind having to grow more plants to get the yields you're going for, or you don't really care about yield so much, you just want the quality, it's quality marijuana. Where do you get it? Again, 420magazine.com. Click on the sponsors. On the sponsors, look for worldwide shipping. Bam, done. You got it going on, right? Okay, so the next thing is, keep in mind these sites are not selling you seeds to grow with. That's what people use them for, but they sell it to you as a way to preserve genetics, which is awesome because, you know, how else are genetics going to be preserved except in clones? But people only clone certain things for so much time, and then, you know, maybe the mother dies, that clone's gone forever. Uh-oh, what do you do now? So that sucks if that happens, right? So, for example, I have a buddy that still is growing my Laughing Buddha number 4, just because that was such a cool phenotype of Laughing Buddha, and I couldn't keep it going. I could have, but I just didn't have I didn't want to keep it going. It's just not something that I like. I don't like keeping a mother around. It's not something I wanted to do. I didn't want to create the space and resources for it. So I asked him, hey, do you want to keep the strain on? He was actually happy to take it because he had a lot of requests for that particular strain. I was kind of curious about that. I was like, wow, I didn't know there was anyone else that knew about the strain, so it's cool. And it's Laughing Buddha by Barney Farms. Now, what's really cool is these sites will give you access, like Herbie Seeds, for example, will give you access to all these different things, to Barney Farms, to Mephisto Genetics, if you want to get some really good autos, or Fast Buds. They have some really fantastic autos, not the biggest yielders, but just fantastic marijuana, and a little bit unstable, but you know, just it's worth it for like Real Glue number 4, for example. You can do Dutch Passion, you can do TGA Seeds by Subcool. There's all different kinds. Cali Connections, there's great, fantastic seed companies that have won tons of awards. You can even, you know, on Herbie Seeds, you can even click on just cup winners, and it'll show you only the strains that have won cups. And you can also filter to photoperiods or autos. If you're looking for just autos, boom, that have won cups, you can filter it that way, and you can see just those seeds or those strains that have 1 a cup and are auto-flowering. You can also search for how long it takes for the seeds to germinate, or not germinate, to completely finish. You know, does it take 8 weeks or does it take 10 weeks? There's so many different filters. It's really cool. Makes it really easy to find. You can also type by actual name. So fantastic. Now, here's the downside of a lot of these companies. They don't take credit cards anymore, most of them, for international shipping. What you have to do is you have to click everything you want, click buy, and after you click buy, then you have to wait for a confirmation code. You have to then use a confirmation code and email them, and then they'll give you their bank information. You then have to make a wire transfer. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it, I think they allow you, if you're in America, I think they still allow you to send money orders to them or something like that, or cashier's check, and you get it that way. Now, some of them will take PayPal if you email them and say, hey, or call or email them and say, hey, is there any other way I can pay for my order? Make the order first, though. Give them the order confirmation number. Like, is there any other way I can pay for this besides having to do a bank transfer? Like, I have a PayPal account. Can I just send it through PayPal? Some will do that. And some of these seed companies will do it individually. You can actually contact Mephisto Genetics from their site and say, hey, I've placed an order. They'll give you a confirmation code. Be patient. It takes about a week for them to get back to you. They'll get back to you with a PayPal address, that is an email, to pay them. And then all you have to do is shoot the money over onto their PayPal, and they'll ship your seeds out. Now, if your seeds, for whatever reason, because I think there's some, even if your state's illegal for some reason, I think sometimes Customs doesn't like the whole preserved seeds things, and so they might confiscate your package. It happens very rarely, but if it does happen, don't be stupid and go and pick it up. Especially if you live in the New York area, that's most likely where it's going to be held, is New York. Don't be stupid and go pick it up. Just let it be there. Don't fret. Don't even worry about it. The people will send you, if you put a check mark on or guarantee, but they're guaranteed getting your seeds, they'll send you another package. If your package doesn't get to you, you will get your package. It might take 2 months, but you will get it. In my experience, you most always get your packages. So, now another option is, if you don't want to go the whole route of online, you do have local seed breeders if you live in a state where it's legal. And so what you do is you go down to your dispensary and say, hey, do you know of any seed breeders? Sometimes they'll actually have the seeds at the place. They're way more expensive than online. It's crazy. Like, sometimes you'll pay $60 for 10 seeds. Stupid. But, it's the only way to really get seeds. Now, you can always buy clones as well from dispensaries. Now, I highly recommend, if you buy a clone from a dispensary, have no other plants growing, or if you do, make sure that plant is totally isolated for at least 2 weeks. Watch it for powdery mildew. Bugs aren't so much a problem anymore. They have a botanist come out and really look it over, but still, I would spray it down really good with like a really good bug spray. Take it outside and use that stuff you attach to a hose. That's made for like spraying all the bugs in your lawns and bushes and shit. Spray it down really good with that, and then watch it. You can also, I wouldn't spray it with a powdery mildew thing because it's most likely not going to kill it anyway. You can if you want to, like, you can dip the whole thing in a powdery mildew solution like Eagle 20. Eagle 20 is hard to get. You have to buy it on Amazon or something. But wait 2 weeks to 3 weeks after that, and watch it very carefully for any little white spots to show up on the leaves, powdery mildew. Powdery mildew is a pain in the ass to get rid of once it's in any room. It sticks to everything. You got pollen everywhere, not pollen, but you have mold spores everywhere, and it's so easy for that shit to be transmitted. So it's a pain in the ass to get rid of, because you have to get rid of all those mold spores. Otherwise, when you grow marijuana again, there's a good chance it'll get powdery mildew again. Now, there's always mold spores going around powdery mildew, but if you have one that, a lot of those aren't strain, or they're strain dependent. Like the powdery mildew, if I get it on my zucchini, which I get like every year, it seems like, it doesn't spread to marijuana. But there's other ones that do spread, like I think the one you get on wheatgrass or just wheat. If you get powdery mildew on wheat, that will spread to marijuana. I actually have 3 different strains right now in my garden of zucchini. One's this like yellow one, to taste so good, and I grow all organic. When I grow everything, every time I grow food, it's always organic nutrients. I'm still working on refining my organic method of hydro organic. That means 100% cocoa, and then doing all powder organics. And I made a video on it, but I've updated it a lot. I've changed a lot. I've added some new stuff to it. It's still really, really simple to do, but I want to get to the point where I can just drip system feed it, and then just top feed every week to 2 weeks, depending on how much they need food. But I've been using Dr. Earth. That's my main ingredient. And then I have like ligamite and some other things I use now. to balance out everything. Comes out so good. The frost is definitely better when you do organic on your marijuana, and it comes out sweeter tasting like every time. It's definitely better than any sort of synthetic stuff I've ever used. You still get great yields, especially because you're doing the hydro organic. But anyway, that's something I'll talk about in the future. About, I've just been doing little experiments here and there. I want to make sure that I got it nailed down, and maybe I'll do like one plant this next grow to try to nail that down more on the drip system. But if I do a drip system, it has to be its own drip system. It has to be just water. And I realized that pHing it down to like 6.8, 7.0 is better than leaving it at like 7. If your water's at like 7.8, it's better to keep dropping it down to like 7.0 or so. And then you have some of the acid in the actual cocoa, and the nutrients itself drops it down acidically. Every now and again, you do want to test the runoff. So I'm trying to find that right balance of exactly how much acidifier to put in. That is garden sulfur, which works as acidifier. It's good for gardenias and blueberries and things like that. So those plants like a more acidic soil. But in this case, it's cocoa. Another thing I've been working on is how to really inoculate the bacteria, really get the bacteria growing in the cocoa. So there's some preparation time if you want the best possible grow out of it. Anyway, so that's all to come in the future. Definitely, it's a way I want to grow in the future. Yeah, it kind of smells and stinks more than growing, but the powder stuff isn't so bad. Honestly, Dr. Earth and stuff isn't that bad at all compared to some other stuff that if you ever tried growing with that liquid Alaska shit, oh my god, shit stinks like fucking shit. So anyway, right, so what's my next thing I'm gonna do, my next grow? So here's most likely what I'm gonna be doing. One, I'm going to get that 3 pounds. I'm going to fucking get it, guys. I know I'm gonna get it. I know I could have got it this time. I know exactly what I did wrong. It wasn't so much that I did something wrong, like made a mistake. It was more I was fucking lazy, and that's just the truth of it. It's not so much lazy. I'm always so busy. I didn't have time. I didn't want to get in there and trellis it all up and everything. So basically, I had a bunch of plants underneath the Goliath. I got 2.48 pounds dry out of it. That's a fantastic yield. That's like 1.9 something watts per gram or grams per watt. That's insane, guys. So even if all you get is 2.4 or 2.5 pounds off of a 575 watt, that's the Perfect Sun Goliath or the Perfect Sun Cob, could do the same thing. I know that now for sure after growing with it. Also based on the numbers, that it's average par rating. And average par, I don't mean the PDBF or PPF and all that. No, none of that shit. Do it manually. Take your par meter, make 17 points of measurement, divide by 17. That's your average fucking par. That's how you do it. No other company wants to do this shit. Why? Because they know that they're not breaking that 400 par. And they're using way too many watts because they're insufficient on how they make their LEDs. Anyway, that's a whole other topic. But so I know for a fact the Goliath can get 2.5 and 2.4 easily because I know other guys that have done it. I've done it twice before with my buddy. I've done it now this time by myself at my buddy's place, but I did everything was all me. He helped a few times, like water and things like that. I had my girlfriend go out there and water for me and things because I can't always do that. But this next grow is gonna be a drip feed, so I'm gonna do a drip feed system. Kind of a bummer because I have to make like 25 drip systems. I have to get a bigger pump. No big deal though. I think it's worth that little bit of investment. The money I put into it is maybe going to be $100 at the most. I already used a barrel for my reservoir anyway that I hand water from, and I actually have a pump in there already. It's not big enough to do what I want to do with it, but it was big enough to water all the plants with. I have a long hose attached to it, and that's how I water all my plants through the pump. It almost works like watering with the hose, but no, it doesn't come out as fast. It's actually a fantastic way to water by hand. It makes it much easier. And then I put that back into I leave the pump on, and I put that back. I turn the on-off switch at the end. It's just a little end piece you put on there, an on-off valve. So I turn the valve off, and I put it in there, and then I turn it back on, and then I put the lid on, and that allows it to circulate the water inside the tank so that the salts never settle. If you do have a reservoir and you water from a reservoir, whether it's drip feed or by hand, I highly recommend that you put a pump in there, even if it's a small pump, something to circulate the water around. Don't use air stones. I found that air stones, one, they don't really oxygenate the water very much. The oxygen evaporates out of the water very quickly. It rises and comes out of it. Now, yeah, it will add a little bit of water to it, a little bit of oxygen to it, but honestly, the oxygen stays in the water. It doesn't just go away unless you're doing deep water culture. If you're doing deep water culture, absolutely use the air stones. But if you're not doing deep water culture, you're just using it as a reservoir, then, or if you're not doing a recirculating system into the reservoir, then the oxygen stays in the water for a long time, right? So it already is oxygenated. You know, it takes something sucking the oxygen out of the water, like fish or plant roots. So as long as there's nothing sucking the oxygen out of the water, it's fine. You don't have to put oxygen in it. And actually, what I do every time I make a new batch, I put hydrogen peroxide in it. Now, if you have to, you can buy the kind at the store, but it takes a lot. You're gonna be buying bottles of this stuff. If you're using 50 gallons of water, you're gonna have to use at least a bottle of that shit, at least, in order to sterilize everything in there. But if you're doing organic, you obviously don't want to do that. But what that does is it helps sterilize your grow. So if you're using synthetic nutrients like Psychoflower, like I've been using, or if you're using Florinova, anything like that, is synthetic, then it's totally fine because you're not worried about the bacteria. Unless you're growing with bacteria, then you don't want to use peroxide because it'll kill off your good bacteria. All that hard work you put into make sure that bacteria colony grew, and you're just killing it off. But anyway, it's a great way not only to keep your res clean, but it's also a great way to add oxygen to the water. What happens is when you put peroxide in water, and I recommend buying your peroxide from a grow shop or online like on Amazon, look for like the 28% peroxide. Don't get this shit on your hands, guys. Follow the fucking instructions. It's very strong. It doesn't take much. It's nothing like the peroxide you buy at a store. It's only 3%. That is 3% H2O and the rest is water. This is 28%. It'll fucking burn your finger. Just trust me on that. Anyway, so mix this stuff carefully. Make sure that you fucking have goggles on, glasses, something. You don't want even a drop of that stuff coming up and you fuck yourself up. Very, very dangerous stuff. But if you're careful with it, then you'll be fine. So when you put this in your tank, it only takes I only use a capful for my entire 50 gallons of water. One capful, which is like, I think anywhere from 5 to 10 milliliters. I can't remember. I think their capful is more like 10 milliliters for the whole entire thing. Sometimes I'll put maybe 20 milliliters in there if I really want to make sure it all gets cleaned out. And what happens is within 3 days, that hydrogen peroxide, the H2O2, evaporates. What happens is it breaks down to two components, to hydrogen and oxygen. That's what actually is making it up, the H2O2, right? Hydrogen and oxygen. And so it's kind of like water. Water's H2O though. This has an H2O2, so 2 oxygen molecules, 2 hydrogen molecules. What happens is it evaporates out of the water, the hydrogen escapes, and then it leaves the oxygen in the water. The oxygen stays in the water until it's used. So as you're watering your plants with it, they're getting a little bit extra oxygen. So it's a way to get extra oxygen to them, but you gotta weigh the pros and cons. Do you want that extra oxygen in the water, or do you want, to use bacteria? Both are great, so it's up to you. Okay, that's that. So I recirculate it though, to keep it going, because what happens is if you don't do have some sort of pump in there recirculating the water, then all the heavier sediments that are in the nutrients settle down to the bottom, and now you're feeding with way too strong of water, and all the water's at the top. And so you're feeding them way too strong of a nutrient regimen. But if you have a pump in there circulating all the water around, then it never settles to the bottom. It all stays mixed up and nice and good and stays at that perfect ppm that you want it at. And if you want to know what ppms to water with, I teach all that in my free course at perfectsunled.com. That is perfect sun, sunled.com. The link's always in my description, by the way, so just check out the description on any video and click on my link, and it's right there. You can go to either one of my websites, and both my websites have that information. So it has that free course. In that free course, click on the one that says, how to water all that stuff, and I talk about different ppms. Also, you can go to my growpotcheaply.com website, which is also the links in the description, and that has my feeding charts. Now, I haven't put a feeding chart for Psychoflower yet because I wanted to get enough grows in with Psychoflower, so I really know exactly what works best. And I think I got it nailed down now, something that works really good for me and works just as good as the Florinova, if not better. Fantastic stuff, really great for drip systems. Produces a lot less salt because there's a lot less salt in it because it's more chelated, and mainly because it's mostly from amino acids, a more fundamental form of the proteins rather than being made from salts. So it's less salt based and more amino acid based. Okay, that's that. Now, what am I going to do with my next grow? Where am I at with time here? Oh, it's hard to see. Duck can't see. Anyway, I have a genetic, for those that can't tell, I have a genetic disposition for dark eyes. Just one of those things. I've had it for a long time, ever since I was a kid, actually. But it started getting bad in my teens, and it's always been that way. Always had that kind of vampire look. Anyway, so that's just a little side. Why did I even mention that? Like, who fucking cares, right? Anyway, I'll talk about some other things about I talk about my personal life, guys. It's what I do, you know? So I'm a personality. I'm a real person. I'm not just a fucking computer that's teaching you how to fucking grow. You know, I'm an actual person, and I kind of want people to get to know me, and you're either going to like me or not like me. And, you know, and for those that don't like me, they might just listen to, you know, learn the information. That's why I try to put most information at the beginning of the video, and then kind of talk about the stuff that I've been doing. And for those that actually care to get to know me and stuff like that. So now it's kind of like, hey, let's get to know Neil. What is he doing next? But I'm still kind of talking about marijuana. What am I doing next? So one of the things that I'm doing next is I'm definitely going to be doing, I want to beat my grow. So for those that don't know, I was debating whether or not to start my grow here. And the main reason why I'm thinking not to do that, because the house is taking a little bit longer than I wanted to. I was supposed to have it on the 15th. But Wells Fargo's kind of slow when it comes to the loaning process and all that kind of stuff. And they're waiting on this and that. And I keep answering everything they need to know. Send this document, send that document. They really want a lot of fucking shit. I didn't realize it's so much harder than a car. You gotta fucking, it's a headache, guys. It really is. That's one of the downsides of mortgaging the house versus just buying it outright. But there's a lot of benefits to mortgaging a house versus buying it outright. I talked about that in a quick little answer to somebody. But, you know, one of the major benefits, that the reason why I should decide to mortgage and not buy it outright, is that if I ever decide I want to rent the house out, like I find another house I want and I get into that house, I can always rent this house out. And because I don't own it outright, because I'm paying mortgage, as long as you're basically paying mortgage, property tax, and home insurance, which really doesn't come to that much. It's actually usually cheaper than what you'd rent the same house out for. In this case, the house I bought in the area that it's in would easily rent for $1,300. It actually would rent probably for $1,500, very realistically. But even at $1,300, I'm making a profit. That is, I'm making more than my mortgage and taxes and home insurances put together. And that means that I can rent it out right away and start making profit right away. Boom, I'm making profit off the house that I don't even own. So I'm using the bank's money to make profit. And so then the renters are paying off the house. Now, of course, you got to keep up on maintenance. I used to manage apartments and stuff like that. That's not how it all works. You got to keep up on the maintenance of the house and things like that, and make sure that you get good tenants and make sure they don't fuck up the house. Make sure you got a good enough down payment, or not down payment. Well, yeah, I guess it's not down payment, but what's that called? The protection thing that you do as a renter. You have to pay your last month's rent, and then you have to pay a security deposit. Basically, it's basically to show, hey, if I mess the house up, we're going to take this money and use it to fix it. But sometimes it's not enough to cover everything. Sometimes people really mess the house up, so do house inspections. So it takes your time. You got to go and do the house inspections. You got to do a background check. You got to really, really research the people that you're renting to and make sure they're not going to be some fuck ups. They're going to fuck your house up. Or people that are just like really hard to get out of your house once they're in there. Like you got to take them to court and spend all this money to get them out, and it's just a pain in the ass. So renting a house isn't ideal, but at least it's there if I want that option. That's one benefit. I'm getting sidetracked. I should be talking about what I'm doing in my future grow, right? And so, anyway, there's other benefits too that I talk about in the text there. But one of the other benefits is of renting it is if something were to happen to the house, if it were to burn down or something, and the insurance doesn't cover it all, which they're supposed to because it's full coverage, but if they don't, for whatever reason, because insurance companies are fucking dickheads, and if they don't cover everything, then that falls on the bank, not you, right? So, you satisfied the bank by getting the coverage that they wanted, and so basically whatever falls over, you don't end up really have to pay much, and then it falls on the bank, not on you. So you don't lose all that money, right? So all that let's say you still owe $165,000 on the home, for example, and it burns down. You don't have to pay all that. All that's paid for by the insurance company. And there might be a little bit left over that you have to pay a little bit of something, but not much. I know I had a car, and that happened to it where I still owed a good amount of money in the car, and I totaled it. It was stupid how it got totaled. It was ridiculous. It was really icy. I had chains on the I actually had not chains, but I had the other things that are almost like chains, the more like almost like wires that go around the tire. And it was just stupid. I just wanted to check and see. I was going like 50 miles an hour. It was like an S turn, and I just wanted to see how the car would handle with the S turn. It was front wheel drive, and I almost did it too. I was like I avoided this turn, and then I almost avoided that turn, and then it just like at 50 miles an hour, just hit the curb just right, and it broke the whole steering column. I couldn't believe it. Like, what? I guess because it was really cold and metal, and I don't know, older car. But that was a while ago. But what it did is it boosted my credit crazy, and it didn't affect my insurance at all because it was the first time anything like that ever happened. So the whole car got paid off, and so that boosted my credit way up because I was still paying the car. And I was like, yeah, awesome. So now I can get a better car. So I went and got a better car. That's when I got my Mitsubishi 2007 Eclipse GT, which was fucking fun and fast. And anyway, so. And now I got the Scion FRS, which is not as fast, but on the track it's pretty fast. On nice winding corners, it can definitely handle corners way better than the Mitsubishi Eclipse. So though the Mitsubishi Eclipse will beat on the straightaway, it'll beat them on the track, no problem, on all the turns. So it's freaking fun car, super fucking awesome looking. But I'm really thinking about selling it and getting a 350Z and paying that outright. I own the car outright now. I own the FRS outright, 2015. I own the Escalade outright. Anyway, none of that matters. Why am I talking about? Who cares? It's just a little bit of my life. It's like just getting little insights in my life, who I am as a person, as a character. But anyway, so the kind of things I like. So here's my idea. So I got the 2.48 pounds. For those who haven't seen it, it's the video I did right before this one. That is the dry weight for that 3-pound attempted grow. All photoperiods is what I grew. I grew Laughing Buddha, I grew LSD, I grew a couple other little strains, just a couple little plants here and there, so just to try them out. Now, if I would have just did all Laughing Buddha, if I would have did my main plan that I wanted to do, all Laughing Buddha, and then put the smaller plants in the center and the taller plants on the outside, and then either use little tomato cages to keep each plant separate so they don't fall and pull into the middle and pull like over and drown the other plants out from light, or if I would at least put trellis, not like 2 levels of trellising, basically just thin squares, so like just divide the lines up like both ways like this, that way the plant can't actually fall over because the string's in the way. That would have kept each plant in its own area. And what happened is all these taller plants bent over and wanted that center light more. They all bent over and covered a lot of the center plants up. So a lot of those center plants didn't really grow as much. I had to like kind of like pull. Anyway, it was a mess toward the end there. And so I didn't get the weight I wanted, which was 3 pounds or more, but still 2.48 pounds, which is basically 2.5 pounds, is like, that's awesome. That comes to like 1.9 something grams per watt, because it uses, the Goliath uses 575 watts. But those that are curious, what is the Goliath? It's the Perfect Sun Goliath. Just go on the link description, perfectsunled.com, and check it out, read all about it, watch the video. I also have a video comparison on my homepage between the Goliath and the Cobb. I'm having a hard time deciding what light I like better. Yeah, the Cobb uses a little bit more electricity, but it's a fucking badass light. It really, I think it can really pull 3 pounds as well, like honestly. Based on the numbers, I know it can, at least 2.8. But I'm pretty sure it can pull that 3 pounds. And I want to do that next after I pull 3 pounds off Goliath. But anyway, so that's one grow I'll be doing. That'll be on another site because I can't, I have a plant limit, so I can only grow so many plants on my site. And then my buddy though has a commercial site, so all I have to do is just go there and have like a little section set out, and it's basically his grow. But I'm going there and doing it, and yeah, so yeah, it's cool. There's cool ways, like legal ways to work around all that kind of stuff, which is cool. And I'm gonna be doing like 25 plants in there. I decided to go with an autoflower this time rather than a photo, just to show that autoflowers can also do it. You know, photos didn't quite get that 3 pounds, but they would have gotten it, trust me. If I would have not been lazy, that grow would have gotten 3 pounds. I know it for sure. Based on how the buds covered the buds, and it would have gotten it, no doubt about it. But with the autos, here's the thing. If I go with photos, in order to really make sure that I get more of an even canopy, I have to do from clone, which means I have to buy the seeds, pick out the best one, then I have to use that as a mother, take a bunch of clones from that. That might not be enough clones, so then I might have to do a second generation of clones to make sure I get enough clones to cover everything to get 25 clones. Or let the mother grow up big enough where I can get 25 clones off of her and then do it that way. Or go to my buddy and say, hey, can I get like 25 clones off the Laughable number 4? I have to wait to make sure he can even get that many off of it, because I think he only has 2 mothers of that going, or maybe only 1 mother of that going right now. And anyway, so that's the problem. And then I have to worry about, well, it's coming from another place. Am I going to get pouty mildew from it and things like that? I mean, his place is really clean and everything, but, you know, I just don't like getting clones from other places unless I absolutely have to. So that's a long process, and so I don't want to take all that time. If I grow from seed, I'm going to get a lot of different kind of phenotypes, some that are taller, some that are shorter. And then, like I said, I can put the taller ones outside and the short ones inside. What I decided to do instead was just use Northern Lights times cheese autoflower by Ministry of Cannabis. I've already got the seeds ready. It's just a matter of planting them and doing it. That way I'll have 25 plants in 2-gallon pots, so the same size pots as last time. That is they're not 2 gallons, they're number 2s, right? From a nursery, they're the number two pots. They're fabric pots, they're 8 inches wide by 10 inches tall, and they hold about 7.5 liters, but we will call them 8-liter pots for those and everywhere else but pretty much America. Everyone else goes by liters except for us. We're stupid. We want to, like, you know, be different. But that's what it is. I decided I was going to do the 13-liter pots, the 13-liter air pots, which is number 3s here in America. I was going to do that, but then I was like, you know, that will limit me to 16 plants, and that will be stuffed in there. That could, just based on how big they are. And so I'm like, damn, I don't know if I want to do that. I think I'd rather do 25 slightly smaller pots, and I can still get, all I have to do with 25 plants is get 2 ounces each. And I busted the 3 pounds. I'll get a little over 3 pounds, like 3.1 or something like that. I'm pretty sure I can do that with that strain. That strain is a good yielder. It doesn't get too big. In that pot, it shouldn't get super huge. I expect some of them to get 3 feet tall. That's going to happen. I know that. So those ones will go on the outside. And this time I'm going to either put them in individual tomato cages. And hey, if anyone knows of a place online, because I've been looking online to try to find like plastic tomato cages that are inexpensive, or even metal ones that are inexpensive. I found some that are inexpensive, but they're all way really tall or just too wide. I want them to only be like the widest part of it. I only want to be maybe, you know, 10 inches wide. So I want that top ring to only be 10 inches wide. And I want it to be a double ringed one, maybe a triple ringed one. But again, I don't want them super tall. I want the whole tomato cage from the rings themselves. Like the part that go into the pot, that's fine, but I don't want the whole entire thing. I can't have it be over 4 feet tall. That's the goal. I want it to be under 4 feet tall, and I don't want the widest part to be wider than 10 inches wide. I'm having a hard time finding them. So if anyone knows of a resource online where to get those, just tell me. I've been searching, I can't find anything. My local dispensary, I don't think, has them either. I think I found some at some sort of store kind of like Wilco. It wasn't Wilco, but it was some sort of store like that. And I think that they had the ones I'm looking for that basically will work, that are short, that aren't as big. And I want the big ones, but the shorter ones, or the less wide ones, because I have to make sure that my buds stay within that range. Now some of the buds, you know, because there'll be a little bit of room in between the plants, I can let some buds come out, and that way they're getting light. But basically I'll have a nice sea of green with 25 plants. So that's the goal there, and I'm pretty positive I'll hit that 3 pound mark, if not more this time. So that's that. That's one grow I'm going to be doing. And I don't know if I'm going to do it as a separate thing or just kind of like do it like I did this last time, kind of going back and forth between the two. Oh, by the way, I still have to make, I have some pictures I took of that last grow, the photoperiod grow that got the 2.48 pounds. So I want to make a time-lapse video. And, you know, I didn't have like a thing set up where the camera was stationary the whole entire grow. I just kind of eyeballed it and just kind of took pictures of the plant. So it's going to kind of be like that. But if I just kind of play it kind of slower, I can make a cool time-lapse video, and it'll be like, you know, maybe 5 minutes long or something like that. And that way it kind of shows, you know, how the grow went. So people can kind of see from beginning and from when they're really tiny to where they're really big with big old fucking buds on them. And they can see the whole grow and see that hey, that was the grow, and that was the grow that got the 2.48 pounds off of. Okay, so the next grow is going to be at my property, and I'm deciding whether I want to start it here or if I want to start it at the new house. If the new house takes too much longer before I have my keys, then I'm going to have to start it here. But the problem is, this is what I'm worried about. If I start it here, they're going to be autoflowers. This will be all autoflower grow this time. If I start it here, and let's say they end up getting this big only, Still, I have to make sure that I remember my daytime for my plants is actually at night when it's actually nighttime outside. And so I'll have to make sure that I rent a U-Haul and that I take each plant individually. I have to like tie it all up somehow so that they stay in the, they don't fall over inside the U-Haul truck. And so I'll probably just put them inside the actual tray, inside the tray they're gonna be in, and just make sure that they're packed tightly in that tray, and pack other things in the tray so that they're nice and tight in the tray, and then tie the tray, and then also tie just a loose rope around the plant so they don't really move around or fall over. But still, that's still stress. Them jigging around and shaking. Even if I drive very, very carefully, it's a long drive. So it's like, well, it's not too long, about an hour drive or something like that. But still, it's a little more than an hour actually. But still, that's a long time for plants to be in the cold. Well, it's not really cold right now, but right now is the best time to do it. But it's still, they're in the back, and then I'm gonna have the light on back there, so that way they're still getting some light, so that they don't like freak out because it's not dark. So they will have light back there, but it's not gonna be like a grow light, just a regular light bulb, you know. But it's enough for them to stay from, you know, freaking out. Like okay, it's light time still. The problem is, again, is just that whole drive. I don't know. I just don't want to fuck them up. You know, I don't want anything to happen. Just that drive, I know will stress them out. And their autoflowers. You stress the autoflowers, it can make them like flower too early. So that's the main concern I have with that, is having to transport them. So what I'm thinking about doing instead is waiting until I get to the house. Hopefully I'll get the house here soon. Like I said, I'm supposed to already have had it by the 15th. Or not already had it, it's not the 15th yet, but it's coming right around the corner, and it doesn't look like I'm going to have it by the 15th. Almost everything's done. The inspection's done. The bank, I think the bank might have done their little. So what I'm going to do the next grow is I'm either going to grow a Hubba Bubba smelloscope by itself under the cob and really just train out the best I can. You know, because sometimes autos do what autos do. Sometimes they don't get really big. I'm going to start with 4 of them. I'm going to narrow it down to the one that's growing the biggest, and that's to be the one that will be the final plant that I grow underneath there. And then I'm going to really train it out to where it really is big and bushy as best I can, and then get as big as yield off as I can. So that's one idea, is the Hubba Bubba smelloscope. I know that thing's got mad potential. The thing is, I haven't grown a lot of infested genetics, so I don't know how stable they are, and I just don't want to. I don't know. It sucks to do a whole entire grow and then the bud structure not be good or something. With World Queen Seeds Northern Lights, every single time I grow that plant, it grows the same way. There's a couple different phenotypes as far as the bud structures go, but they're all awesome, and they're all dense, and they're all big. And every time I'm growing that plant, it's a nice, big, fat, bushy plant, and it's really easy to get bushy. And it's nice, and I like the stalks are nice and stable. They hold the fucking buds up. There's like most of the time I don't have to tie anything up or use any sort of anything. It's just strong enough to hold everything up. Big fat nugs like this, and it holds them up, big soda can buds. Whereas I know for sure the Hubba Bubba smelloscope, I'm gonna have to tie it off and stuff, and I really don't want to do that. But I kind of want to beat my own record too. So I haven't just fully decided on that side, because I have an 8x4 flood tray. That's 1/2 under the cob. And so I might try the Northern Lights again to see if I can beat my own record. My record was like 4.8 ounces. It was either 4.2 or 4.8, I can't remember. It's somewhere around there though. I think it was 4.8 ounces. It's on one of my videos where I show the dry weight. So you can search that by clicking the icon on my homepage. So that's something I want to do. And then on the other half, or any other section I have left in that 8x4 area, I'm going to grow different strains. I'm going to grow some more Dutch Passion stuff that I haven't grown before, like Brooklyn Sunrise and the, I think it's called Night Queen. A few other ones, I can't remember all the names. I think Lemon Daiquiri Lime or some shit like that. So I bought some other stuff that I want to try from Dutch Passion. I love that company because they're freaking stable as hell. I also got another strain by Miniature Cannabis that I've never grown before, and I figured I'd go ahead and try that. I got another one by Bomb Seeds called Atomic. Last time I grew their cherry bomb, the cherry bomb it came out good. Considering how little light it had because it was being covered a lot and stuff, it literally got like drowned by the Hubba Bubba smelloscopes to where I actually forgot about it. It was drowned underneath branches. I forgot I couldn't even see the fucking thing, and still somehow it grew buds. And then once I saw that, I'm like, oh shit. Once I had room, I moved it over so it can get some light, and then it started densing up and stuff. The buds didn't get super big because they didn't get light most of its life. But still, they got pretty good size dry. They're still pretty big. and they're dense and nice stuff. Smells great. It's pretty frosty. Like you'll see it when we do a review of it. So that one came out pretty nice, and we got to see how the flavor and stuff like that is. But anyway, I was impressed with it enough what it did that I got Atomic by Palm Seeds. There's some other stuff. I'm gonna be doing a lot more Manifesto genetics as well. I got some more Manifesto genes that I didn't get to try, like Sour Hound, F2, some other stuff I didn't get to try yet. So I definitely gonna do more of that. I definitely don't trust how big they claim plants can get anymore. I mean, the sour crack, yeah, that did stay within the 2 to 3 ounces, like they said. So that one is accurate, and it doesn't get super big. It's maybe 2 feet tall. So that's a nice, great short plant. If you want to do a nice sea of green with it, you can get a nice yield out of that. Really good stuff. At least it looks frosty and everything like that. So we haven't done a smoke review yet, so I don't know how stony it is, but it looks like it should be. They're Supernatural OG. I don't like how the bud structures are at all. It's more of a sativa, very loose buds. I mean, the individual buds are inside are tight, but they're long. They're not fat and short like indica. They're more longer buds that all kind of clump together. It still puts out a good weight. There's no doubt, but it's not an OG. I like the OG bud. I like the golf ball kind of solid, fucking throw it your fucking forehead, it hurts bud. That's what I like. I get buds out of that, like out of Laughing Buddha and stuff. I get buds out of that, like with the Northern Lights Times cheese that marinated with cannabis. Got buds like that out of the Dutch Passions Colorado cookies. That's just the bomb, guys. Like seriously, if you have not tried Dutch Passions Colorado cookies, try it. It's a fantastic yielder if you're a good grower and good with autos, and it is amazing marijuana. But you know, the Walter White had slightly better flavor, but they're pretty much on par. But with the Walter White, you get nice sativa buds. If you like sativa buds and you don't mind that, they're still dense. They're just longer, more spaced out buds. It's a sativa. For those that are familiar with how sativas grow, you know what I'm talking about. So it has that more sativa bud structure, but super frosty as hell. I thought it was gonna be way more stony than the Colorado cookies just based on the frost, but it wasn't. You know, I had more than one person try it, and I might actually ask some of my buddies to come around one day. And what do you guys think of this? For those that are actually still fucking watching this video, you guys are true fans. Fucking thank you. Seriously, man, you guys are like just diehards, and that's awesome. And I'm glad we had this kind of connection. I know it's not like a real time connection, but it's still a connection, right? And I do live sometimes, and oh my god, I'll be doing so much more videos in the new house. Guess this. 1,000 megabytes. That's 1 gigabyte down and 35 up. I know. I wish I could get fiber optic in my area, but it wasn't available. But what was available is that package. 1,000 down, 35 up. That's fucking fantastic. Like most servers can't even handle 35 up anyway, so it doesn't matter. You know, like if I had 1,000 up, they'd be like. But yeah, so stay tuned for that. Definitely when in the new house, I'll be doing a lot more live videos, and so we can hang out more on a more personal basis where, you know, and what I want to do, I want to do something different with my live videos. I want it to where you guys can voice chat with me. How am I going to make that possible? Easy. I'm going to open up a Pal Talk room. I'm going to show you guys in the live feed how to get there, and then you guys can actually go on the microphone, and it's going to come through the live feed, which is going to be awesome. Because we're all going to be on the Pal Talk room, and we can chat in the Pal Talk room, and I'm going to have a screenshot of the Pal Talk room, and then that little image of me over here, and so we can see who all's in the room, what they're all typing, and it's kind of like we're all, and then we can see who has their hand up, and then and there's a cue. You raise your hand, and whoever's next, you talk, and then when that person's done, they lower the hand, next person talks, asks a question, and I come up, and I answer the question right there. So we're actually having a voice interaction, which is far cooler than just me talking and you guys texting, I think. Now, there's some people that are shy, they'll stick to text, that's fine, I'll still answer those questions, but I think that'd be cool. What do you guys think? I think that'd be awesome. Really good way to interact, get to know each other more. But yeah, so if you have more questions, ask them in the comments below. I'd really appreciate that. And hey, you guys are diehard fans. You guys have been here with me for a long time, obviously, because you're still watching the video. I do have one favor for you. People ask me, hey, what can I do, man? You've done so much. You've given me you've helped my girl so much. You've given me your free course, you know, on your website. You've answered so many questions. You made so many free videos, over 300 videos now. You showed so much knowledge over the years. Can I give you a donation or something like that? Can I pay back? You know what? I have a donation thing, and only because people ask for it at the Grow Pot Cheap website. But what I would rather you do, because I don't need money, what I would rather you do is help my fighting passion. Go to my street fighting tips website, help people stop getting bullied. This is something I feel very passionate about. I was bullied as a kid a couple times. I mean, I've always had a good build, even when I was a kid, and I was always bigger than all the other kids. But I got bullied by older kids. So when I was younger, the teenagers were bullying me. When I was like, 6 years old, I had this bully. I think it was like 6 or 7. I had this bully that was way older than me. He was like 11, 12 or something shit like that, even 13. Way taller, way bigger than me. And it was bullshit. And he used to always fuck me at the public pool. This is a true story. A little bit of story time here real quick. The video's already fucking long as hell, who cares, right? If you're still watching. He was a fucking, and in fact, by the way, if you did watch this far, do me a favor. If you're still watching right now, in the text chat, type whatever time frame this is right now. So let's say it's 54 minutes. Say, hey, at 54 minutes, I was still watching. And if you watch all the way to the end, say, I watched all the way to the end. Of course, it ain't the end yet, but. So anyway, it's funny how we now. Now, for those that don't know, I've been fighting ever since I was a kid because I had to. I grew up in California. I grew up in some hard towns. So like Vista, California, Oceanside. When I lived down south, when I lived up north, I lived in places like Concord, Fairfield. I was the only white kid in school for a while, so you get picked on a lot. And so I had to learn how to fight. And so I met this guy one time. I was living at these apartments, and I used to watch kung fu movies and shit like that. Bruce Lee, Van Damme, Bloodsport, stuff like that. I was a little bit later, but younger, it was Bruce Lee. And I was like, got really good at kicking and stuff and stretching, and I learned to do the splits and all that kind of stuff. And this guy saw me like one day just messing around, and he used to always do his kickboxing outside of his garage. And then I saw him one day, and he called me over because he saw me I was like mimicking him. I was like watching him, and I was like mimicking what he was doing, like trying to learn. And he called me over. I was really young at the time, maybe 8 years old or something like that, 7. He calls me over and says, hey, I want to teach you some kickboxing. And so he did. So as long as I lived there for, which I think was about 8 months, he taught me kickboxing for like 8 months. And I was there like almost every day. Like I was like hungry to learn. So I was there all the time I was there until he was like, I gotta go, man, I'm sorry. Like I would wear him out. Not wear him out, but his schedule, he had to go do stuff. He's an adult. And so that was like my first actual training. But I also learned through School of Hard Knocks when I was younger and having to defend myself and stuff like that. And after you go through more fights, you get better and better. But I was also just just naturally gifted at fighting. But nonetheless, had this bully, and he would always dump me underwater at the public pool and shit like that, and just a little dickhead. And it started really pissing me off. I'm like, what can I do? The guy's so much bigger than me. And so I'm walking. Me and my buddy Tino are walking home one day, and the kid comes with all his friends, and he starts shoving me around. Come on, hey, little pussy punk. Starts shoving me around. And it was because I threw attitude, because he pissed me off at the pool. And I did something. I can't remember. He dumped me under. I think I socked him in the nuts or tried to underwater. Underwater is not very hard. So, and then I shoved him back against the wall of the pool, and I jumped and ran out of the pool. And I ran because I'm afraid the guys would beat my ass. And so he gets me afterwards. He waits there and he gets me afterwards. And all his friends surround me. They're all older than me, all bigger than me. And my buddy kind of takes off. He doesn't take off, but he doesn't help me at all, right? And good thing that these guys were at least fair. Way older than me, way bigger than me, but it's at least a fair fight. It's 1-on-1. And we're fighting and stuff, and he comes at me, and I remember throwing some punches at me. And he had trained in some kickboxing, and I hadn't trained him kickboxing at this time. And so I was just naturally moving out of the way of the punches and stuff. And I was doing this a lot though, which is very bad. You want to lean back too much, but anyway, I was dodging, leaning, and ducking down, and he's trying to hit me, and I'm like a hard target. And as he's trying to hit me, I see he tries to kick me. I see his foot coming, and I step back. I kind of did a full jump back, and he flings his foot out, just barely misses me, and his shoe goes flying off, and all of his friends are laughing and stuff. and he's getting more pissed off, and he comes out with this big haymaker. All I did is I ducked down, that just felt natural to me. I saw the big punch coming, I ducked down, and I see the punch coming, and I see his armpit, because I'm a lot shorter than he is, and I'm already ducked down anyway. And I just came hard as I can up right into his armpit. Not sure, I didn't know why I did that. It was just something that just instinctually I just did. I just saw the armpit and just bam! Had no idea there were so many nerves there. He was crying like a bitch, kid you not. And all his friends were laughing at him. He's like, oh, fuck you guys. And he ran off, never fucked me again. Actually, he did a few more times after that, but it took a while. At least a month went by before he even wanted to fuck me again. And then he just kind of would like say shit like that. He never actually tried to fight me again. And the moral of the story is that I know what it's like to be bullied. And I hated it. It was so irritating. It was always older kids that would bully me, or many kids that would bully me. Once I was like 13 or so, I joined a gang, which was stupid. But it's just one of those things you do when you live in certain places. There's so many gangs and so many opportunities. And it's kind of funny how it all started, actually. It started playing basketball, and the dude didn't like white kids. He was Mexican, and he tried to stab me with a wooden knife. And we fought, and I managed to not get stabbed. And I managed to hold my own against a guy that was way older than me. He was taller and older than me. He was like 21, I think, when I first met him, and I was like 13. And then, stayed all the way up until he was like 23, 24, something like that, when I finally had to move away. And it was predominantly 3 guys that I hung out with the most. We kind of formed a little sub-gang within the Norteños. And they accepted me even though I was white, which is weird because they're very racist. But they accepted me because I told them I was Italian, because I really thought I was at the time. Even though I'm Italian, I know I look totally white, but I'm Italian. So I kind of used that to my advantage, and they accepted me. It was kind of interesting. I'm not sure exactly how that worked out, but it worked out, and they accepted me. But because I looked white, because I am, at the time I truly thought I was like major time. My grandma always told me I was, and I did some family background and stuff and found out you're not Italian. If you are, it's very little. So I found out I'm really basically like all Nordic races, Irish and stuff from my mother's side. Anyway, so because I was basically the white kid, I got picked on all the time by my homeboys, and it was real fighting. It wasn't sparring. It was bare fist fighting, blood. It was real fighting. And basically, they would, out of nowhere, we'd be like getting off of a bus going somewhere, right, in Sassoon, California, getting off the bus, and then they would just like randomly just start fighting me, like just basically jumping me. And one day I'm like, why the fuck is it always me? Why don't we jump him? Why don't we ever fucking all gang up on him? And like, because you're the white kid. And also they said it was because I was a younger guy and they wanted to toughen me up. They wanted to make me strong. And it did. It made me very strong. And, we used to fight at least, I would get in a fight with them like at least, and other guys too, but them predominantly. At least every, I would say 5 days a week, 4 or 5 days a week. And so I easily, just with them, that was over 200 street fights right there. And what would often happen as I got better and better is I would take 2 guys out of the equation really fast. And then it was always me and this tall guy, Roy, and he had some boxing background and stuff. I had some kickboxing background at this time and some other martial arts I started learning. And so I was really good at kicking. And he'd always be, no kicking, man, no kicking. I'm like, no, fuck that, dude. You're way taller, way older, way bigger. You got weight, you got the reach on me. I'm fucking kicking, dude. This is a fucking fight. Fuck you and your rules. And, and he respected that. But it came down to me and him oftentimes. And so, and almost all the time, fights end up on the ground, even if you don't want them to. They just do. And so we'd end up on the ground fighting, and they try to get back up and stuff. And anyway, so I had, through that time, all those fights, I started to develop my own strategy to fight multiple people, and then also my strategy to fight someone that's a lot taller and bigger than me. And then I started getting into Muay Thai when I got older, but right around 17 or so. And then I did that a lot. I did a lot of full contact sparring. My teacher was actually went to Thailand to learn Muay Thai, and he also learned it here. But then he went to Thailand and trained there for a long time, and came back and he was one of my mom's friends, and so I basically got free training for a long time, and then I had to start paying, but it was really cool. And so he had a lot of faith in me, which was cool, and put me in a lot of fights all the time. Every time I went, I was in a fight, full contact sparring match. There was no elbows though. Even though in Muay Thai there's elbows allowed, there's no elbows allowed within this full contact sparring. I think we could have just put elbow mats on, but he just said it's just too. Even if you're only going for 50% power, it's still too easy to like knock teeth out and stuff like that. So there was no elbows allowed. Nonetheless, full Muay Thai clinches, knees, kicks, all that were allowed. It made no sense to me. I'm allowed to kick the guy in the fucking head with with a little thin pad on my foot, but I can't elbow him with the pad on my elbow. That makes no sense. But it kind of made sense, I guess. The foot's a lot harder to kick someone in the head with. If you get good at it and you're good at seeing it coming, it's a lot harder to kick somebody in the head. Nonetheless, did that for a while. Then I got into boxing, and then that's when I saw just how different boxing was. Like, I'm like, damn, dude, boxing is way different than. I was like, I know Muay Thai already. I got my Muay Thai stance. I know Muay Thai. I know how to duck. I know how to counter. I know how to do all that. I know how to see a kick coming the other way, counter with a kick. I know how to do all that. I'm badass, dude. I know what I'm doing. And I got into boxing. I'm like, I can do this shit. This is easy, boxing. But I'm like this, because I'm used to Muay Thai. Because you want for the kicks, And no, they're like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, what? I can't stand like this. Like, that's not how you want to stand. You want to go ahead and do it. And of course, I got hit in the fucking face a lot. And I'm like, okay, that's not the way to stand. And so I got more into the boxing, learned how to do the boxing stance and stuff. But even just the science of it, the way you put people into situations to make them think they have to fight, make them think they have to punch even though they don't. The way that you counter, it's just all different because it's all hands, there's no feet to worry about. There's no knees to worry about. So it opens up a whole new dynamic of fighting that was very, very different, and it took me a while to adapt to it because it was so different. And I remember, being in a sparring match and going like this and stopping myself because I saw the opening for the kick. And I was so used to doing that, I just saw that leg kick there, and I would have to stop myself. After a while, I got to the point where I can just box without throwing the kicks. Then I got really good at. This is before I ever even saw Mayweather. Never even saw Mayweather before. I started going like this from this traditional boxing stance. I started doing this right here. This, just taking myself off center a little bit. Then I started doing some boxing research. Just after I got older, I started doing some boxing research and saw some of the first guys to do that. I forget the guy's name, but instead of fighting like this, he would fight just a little bit off center. See, boom, boom, a little bit off center. That made it harder for that hard hand to come, right? When you're fighting, or at least if you're both standard fighters. If they're a southpaw, then he would sometimes maybe lean a little bit the other way. But what it made to where it was hard for him to reach his right hand to hit me because I'm further away from it, right? It's kind of like Mayweather, but Mayweather's like this. And this was like this, and I was like that, and I'd be like this. And then I started dropping my hand lower and lower just naturally. And the reason why I started doing that is when I was like this, my ribs are easier to hit. And this side is easier. My liver, which is on the right-hand side, it actually travels all the way across, but it really hurts the liver when you get hit on the right-hand side the most. And sometimes right here. But I don't know if you've ever seen the anatomic structure of man, but the liver is fucking huge, but majority of it starts over here. And so that's being protected when I'm like this. So when I'm like this, it's less protected. When I'm like this, it's more protected. And by dropping down a little bit, my elbows are already blocking more. So if they come and try to hit me on this side, it's boom, it's already blocked. But notice, by going from here to here, this is more vulnerable. And so I slowly started dropping this elbow down. But then I'm noticing this chin is more vulnerable, so I started tucking my chin more to the shoulder rather than just tucking it down like this. I'm tucking it more deep here, like that. And so I started fighting like this. This became my natural boxing stance. And of course they were like, no, that's not how you fight. That's not boxing. You need to fight traditionally. They kept trying to get me to go back here. I'm like, I feel comfortable here. And I'm like, all right, let's try it. I'll fight like this, and you spar me. And then I'll fight like this, and you spar me. And if I get hit less this way than I do this way, then I'm doing this way. That's the way it is. And of course it worked. I got hit less. They're like, okay, well, hey, it works for you. That's cool. And this was, again, way before Mayweather was a big old sensation. I'm 39 now, by the way. So it gives you an idea. This was way back, when I was still a teenager. Technically, I wasn't 20 years old yet. And then in my 20s, I continued to do boxing. And I kind of fell away from it a little bit, and I got more into jiu-jitsu, and I started getting more into Aikido, more into this like throwing and grappling stuff. I really liked that idea because I did some wrestling in high school, and I liked the idea of this kind of wrestling a little bit more. Then I kind of got out of that a little bit and got back into boxing and kickboxing and stuff more. And then I, started kind of like thinking, how can I remember all my street fighting and stuff. I'm like, how can I incorporate all this into a good street fighting strategy? What would work best in street fighting? So it was at that young age, at the age of 18, when I was doing a lot of the Muay Thai still doing the Muay Thai, so like little we'd have like our own in-house tournaments, and there was actually tournaments you can go to as well, national tournaments, things like that. But the tournaments didn't allow you punching to the face, and I thought that was stupid for amateur Muay Thai tournaments. At least the ones that he knew about that he wanted to get me into, there was no punch in the face. I thought that was stupid, and I'm like, that kind of limits the whole sport. Like, what's the point of that? Like, just body shots. I mean, that's stupid. I mean, you can kick to the head, but you can't punch to the head. I'm like, that's stupid. I don't want to do that. I'd rather do our own tournaments here where we're allowed to punch to the face. And so it's full contact sparring. Now, full contact sparring, you go about 70% out. But there are times where you end up going a lot harder. The harder they go, the harder you go. They start getting you mad. You start going harder. They start going harder. Next thing you know, you're in a fight basically with the pads on. And we didn't wear oftentimes the chest padding. So when you got kicked in the ribs or punched in the ribs, it really hurt. And I've had a broken rib at least once. This side here. I had other ones that I wasn't sure they were broken. They definitely were fractured. Ripped ligaments. This was from jiu-jitsu though. Just a stupid move I did in jiu-jitsu, and I ripped the ligaments, the muscles in between the ribs. I mean, if you look at anatomy, you'll see that if you rip off, like if you look at bio-digital human being and you like this 3D and you dissect it and you take off the 2 layers of muscles here, then you see the underneath all that, there's actually, between each rib, there's a layer of muscles that connects each rib together. And those are pretty easy to tear. And so I tore that, and that hurt. And that took a long time to heal. It didn't hurt by just going like this. That's how I knew it wasn't fractured, because I can go like this and there was no pain. But if I even went like just like that, just a slight twist, I'm like, ooh, damn, that hurts, And if I went like that, I'm like, oh, fuck, And it was like, it sucked. It took a long time to heal, like 6 months to be fully healed before I can like really go back and grapple. Anyway, so I started learning that and learning Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and stuff. And so I incorporated that all into the street fighting that I was developing a long time ago when I was 18. And so that's how it all happened, for those that are wondering. And so over the years, I had trained certain people how to fight. I trained, hey, if you're out there, John Trumbull, what's up, dude? He'll remember. I did some training with him and trained him in my art that I was kind of coming up with at the time, and also with the Muay Thai I've already learned, and boxing and stuff like that. And one of the things I trained him in, and I said, only do this if you really feel like your life's in danger. This isn't something you do just in a fight, That is, when you do get them out, you hold the neck and you just slam the face a couple times. That is, you're holding their head against the ground, so there's nowhere for the head to go. Because if they are lifting themselves up and you're hitting them in the head on the ground, there's no reason. It's like a spring, their head's like a spring, so it's not as much damage. But if their head's being stopped by a wall, if you can get someone against a wall and smack their face, I don't recommend doing this. He actually went to prison, even though he didn't start the fight. Actually, maybe he did, I can't remember. They started originally, and then I think he came back and said, that was bullshit, you guys jumped me. And so he caught this guy by himself and said, let's fucking fight. So it was an agreed upon fight. They both were fighting. He got him to the ground. He did the move I taught him by holding the fucking face to the ground and just hit him a few times in the face. Because his head was against the concrete, he had nowhere to go. So all that power is going right in the face. He crushed his orbital, cracked his orbital bone, crushed the whole skull here, crushed the whole cheek in. So his whole cheek had sunk in. And that's what made him stop, was seeing the dude's face look like it was sunk in. Dude went to emergency care and all that kind of stuff. Was in the hospital for a long time. My friend John, I shouldn't say his name actually now I think about it, but anyway, I already said it. I guess I could edit it out, but I don't think he'll care, honestly. But he went to prison for a long time because of that. think it was 5 years he served. I think he ended up getting out a little bit early, but they sentenced him for 5 years. So I don't recommend doing that unless it's like a life-threatening situation, like you're fighting more than one guy, and you just pound that guy, get him to the ground, and you just wham wham, and looking around and looking for the next guy coming at you and take care of him. That dude's face is crushed in, or you rip his eyeball out, whatever. You got to do something to take him out of the fight, because you have other guys and you truly feel your life's in jeopardy. They might have knives. You don't know what's going on. Anyway, I go through a lot of this in my Street Jitsu course that I'm working on. But anyway, so the point is that's kind of how I got into fighting. And I've always liked it. Like ever since I was a little kid, ever since I was like 4 years old. And I remember being 4 years old. I know not everyone does, but I remember being 4 years old and liking horror films and liking fucking action films, mainly kung fu films. I discovered Bruce Lee at a young age, and other old kung fu movies where they use like the wires and stuff to like jump in the air and, you know, fuck kick each other and shit, ninja shit. And I love ninja movies and anything like that. So samurai, ninjas, and a lot of stuff with contacting. And I would sit there and play. I played. This is back when all we had VHS, but I had a VHS player that had the slow-mo and had the button where you can like pause it. So I'd pause it, unpause it, pause it, unpause it, because it didn't have the frame by frame yet. And later on, once the frame by frame came out, then I'd watch it frame by frame. And I would study frame by frame how they're doing their moves in these kung fu movies. And so that's when I started mimicking it and stuff. I'm like, okay, you know, block and all this kind of stuff. Then I realized most of that shit was bullshit. It didn't work in a street fight. When I tried the kung fu street fight, I'm like, I'm trying to block punches, boom, get hit. I'm like, okay, that shit don't work, man. Like kung fu and karate and shit just doesn't work in a fight. And that's why when you see people coming from a karate background, you know, and they're like this in MMA, they don't go, you know, they don't do all that stupid blocking shit because it doesn't work. They back away, they move out of the way, you know. They don't, they basically incorporate boxing more than they do. They might have the karate stance, kind of like McGregor likes to stand like that. He likes to do, you know, from more of a karate background, it seems like. And not kung fu, it seems like he does more karate, but he might have practiced some kung fu. But either way, you know, both kind of have that similar stance, you know, the wider stance and, you know, really wide feet apart and having your hands, you know, kind of more far apart, you know, kind of like, you know, like this. And anyway, it's fine for like, you know, keeping the arm and blocking like this, like keeping the hand away, then moving out of the way and stuff. But if you want to like practice this kind of stuff and, you know, blocking like that and trapping the arm, all that shit don't work in a street fight. It just doesn't. It doesn't work in MMA. It's not allowed in boxing. It's not allowed, I guess. And actually, I never tried it. I never even asked about it in Muay Thai. I just listened to what they told me in Muay Thai, and I stuck to the basics, because it's a very basic martial art with very basic strikes, like kind of like boxing. But it takes a long time to perfect those strikes. You know, so even though you only have limited strikes in boxing, it takes a long time to perfect those strikes and perfect the mind game. And most all fighting is a mind game. And anyway, so yeah, that's a little bit about my background, a little bit about me. So for those that care at all, that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I was bullied growing up and didn't like it. And I should have been, because I was actually a pretty good fighter, even when I was a little kid, just naturally a good fighter. I guess it's just naturally in my blood. And not only that, but I was big for my size. I was bigger than all the kids my age, and even kids a year older than me, you know. But I got picked on because of that, I think. The older kids wanted to pick on me, right? The bullies always look at someone that they feel like they can beat up, right? So the older kids, people that are 5 years older than me, would come and try to fight me. Now, as they got older, that happened less often, because I started making a name for myself. You know, that is, oh, I've seen Neil fight, you don't want to fuck with him. Especially after I went through my from 13, you know, I started doing all those street fights from being in the gang. That really toughened me up a lot and really helped me hone my skill of fighting. And so, like, after that, bullies didn't really want to bully me anymore. It was pretty rare. One time when I was 14, I think I was around 14, I got picked on by this kid, and he caught me and my friend by ourselves. And they're a lot older than us. They were 18 and 21, and basically stopped me, and he said, hey, I'll fight both of you guys one-on-one. The 18-year-old said this. He's like, I'll fight both of you guys one-on-one. Or, I mean, I'll fight both of you guys at the same time. And my friend was like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do that, And I'm like, well, we're going to fight this guy no matter what, right? He's not going to let this go. Like, I knew this from growing up in hard towns and stuff. I'm like, I can see his body language. I'm like, these guys are going to jump us if we don't do something. And so I'm like, look, hey, he don't want to fight you. I'll fight you, though. And if you want to fight 2-on-1, if that's something you want to do, because I'm so much younger than you, it's kind of unfair, and smaller than you, I'm going to go and get my other buddy. He'll fight with me. And so I went and asked my other buddy, and he's like, oh, yeah, I'll fight with you. His name was Zach. And he's like, hey, I'll fight with you and everything. So we had a game plan. We drilled it, and I told him what to do. I want him to come and tackle the guy's legs. Then I was going to come and just beat the guy down. That was the game plan. Didn't work out that way because he said that he was in karate and all this kind of stuff, but obviously he never actually like full contact sparred or prepared himself or did any fighting, because when it came down to it, dude just came to him, bing, 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 hit him in the face a few times. Dude dropped on his knees like, no, stop. I'm like, what the hell? And so I took advantage of that. When he was like, bing, 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 and my friend goes, I just run up to the guy and I start fighting him. So now it's just me and him one-on-one because my friend's out there, he's done. And he doesn't want to fight no more. So I'm fighting the guy, and he's trying to hit me, and I'm ducking down, moving, I'm countering. I hit him a few times. He grazes my head like once, and then I see an opportunity. He steps back, and I see him step back, and I see the opportunity. Now we're on grass, and the grass had been watered earlier by the sprinklers, and I didn't realize how slippery it was. And so I ran up and did it's a jumping kick where you jump up with this left leg and then wham into the head. And so I did that, and I kind of slipped on the grass, and I still kicked him in the head, and he went to the ground, but I also went to the ground because the grass was wet. And then I stumbled and I rolled, and I was getting up. Now I stumbled out of the grass onto the asphalt where the driveway was for cars getting out of the parking lot, the parking lots of the apartment. And I had hit the ground, and as I was getting up, this car is driving and is honking, and he doesn't fucking stop, and he fucking hits me. Not like super hard, nothing. It wasn't going super fast, but he hits me and knocks me back down to the ground. And I'm getting back up again. And as I'm getting back up, this guy's name is DJ, comes up and hits me right in the back of the neck. Boom, just right in the back of the neck, right in the back of the head, which was bullshit, pussy ass move, because I just get hit by a car and I'm getting up. And as I'm getting up, he comes and hits me in the back of the head. And I just fucking jump. Now I'm fucking pissed. So I jump up and I start coming at him, and then he backs off. He's like, yo. Like, I don't know, he must have saw something in my eyes, something about, I was fucking pissed. He must have saw the demon in me or something, because he all of a sudden got scared. I can see it in his face. I think he was scared because he gave me everything he had in the back of my head and didn't lay me out. And I think that's what scared him the most. And I jumped up and was pissed, ready to fucking rock and roll. And then he was like, are we cool, man? We cool, dude? We cool? I'm like, we're not fucking cool, dude. And I look over and I see my friend Jason, and he's going like this, dude. He's behind the black guy. That's this other guy's friend. That was a guy who was like 21. He goes, dude. And so I kind of took the cue, and I'm like, okay, he's obviously trying to tell me no for a reason. And so I'm like, all right, whatever, dude, we're cool, man. I shook the dude's hand, went over to Jason. Jason's like, dude, that bag of chips the black guy had, he had a pair of nunchucks in there, dude. And he was like talking about how he was gonna go fucking bust your head open if you hurt his buddy. So kind of bullshit. So you gotta be ready for that kind of stuff. Even if a guy says it's one-on-one, if they have their friends there, don't expect it to be one-on-one. Don't expect that their friends won't jump in if you start winning. Keep that in mind. So I recommend avoiding street fights at all costs, because they're really dangerous, and you never know when someone's gonna have a knife or something, or when they just might just jump you, or a dude has a fucking pair of nunchucks in his fucking Doritos chips bag. That's bullshit. And I didn't know that. And anyway, the story goes on, but it's a long story, so a lot of drama. So that's that. Yeah. So anyway, I had this big passion to help people learn how to fight so that they don't get bullied. I know what it feels like. And also I have the passion for fighting in general. Like, for people that want to take it to the next level. I want them to know how to defend themselves on the street, though, because jiu-jitsu and street fighting are different. And that's why I call it street jitsu, because it's jiu-jitsu adapted for the street, but also, boxing adapted for the street, and Muay Thai adapted. I adapt a lot of these different techniques into the martial art, but the main one is being able to get someone to the ground, because most people don't know how to defend themselves on the ground. And if you have the upper hand on the ground, you can wear the guy out real easy using very little of your energy, wear him out, and then beat him down if you want to, or submit him, choke him out. I recommend a choke. You don't want to go for an arm bar or something like that, really.
You have them tight right here. You're afraid they're gonna beat your ass. You can always reach in, pull the eyeball out. Bam, all out. That takes all the fight out and they're done.
Because the guy might like, okay, I'm done. If you go for the arm bar, you should break the arm. Now, I know that sounds horrible, but honestly, you need to make sure the he's done. He doesn't want to fight anymore. If you fucking snap his arm out of place, he's done. He's not going to fight anymore. All the fight's out of him. If you just kind of like, get him an arm bar, and he's like, okay, I'm done. You let him go, let him up. I've seen this happen on YouTube. You can actually see fights like this on YouTube where the guy will get him an arm bar and the guy will tap and he lets him up and then the guy sucker punches him or something or keeps trying to fight. But if he would have broke his arm, the fight would have been over, done. But you also, you got to think about lawsuits, things like that, But anyway, so I recommend just choking the guy out. That ends the fight. Dude's passed out. Hold it for a good 10 seconds. Let him go. It's gonna take him a few seconds to come to and be able to do anything, and you just get out of there. But anyway, so I teach all this in the course I'm coming out with. But and if you guys haven't noticed, I don't know how to say this without, like, some people say I'm vain or arrogant or something like that, but I just want to like motivate people. And that is, I discovered a diet that I used to always hit a certain weight. And you guys saw my weight fluctuate up and down over the years. And there was a certain weight I would always get to, and I was kind of stay there. And I've broken that weight now. And I don't know if you guys can see, but I used to have a pretty good beer belly. Look at now, it's almost flat completely. And you can see my arms are, they're getting more defined because I'm losing fat everywhere. And so I reached that weight barrier, and then I would just have a hard time getting past that. And the secret that I learned was actually by accident. And I'll tell more about that later for those that care. That's that, guys. Thanks for watching, and hopefully you guys enjoyed a little bit getting to know me and stuff like that. Support the Fight Channel. That's my point, guys. If you want to help me, support the Fight Channel. So people ask me, what can I do to give back? What can I do to help you? Support my Fight Channel. That's what I'm asking for right now in return. And so if you feel like you want to give back, that's how I'm asking you to give back. Go to my Fight Channel. So click on growpotcheaply.com, my nickname there right below the video. Click on growpotcheaply. That takes my homepage. On the right hand side there, you'll see my other channels. You'll see my fight channels, my street fight tips channel. Click on that, and let's help grow that channel to help teach people how to defend themselves so they don't get bullied. And also, it'll give you street smarts in general. Like I go through general street smarts. You don't have to have the course for that. That's all going to be free in that channel. And so that general street smarts, how to stay aware, how to stay alert, how to look, how to know when you're about to get jumped, how to know when, if you're one guy's in one fight and you're trying not to fight, how to look around and make sure that some guy isn't trying to come and cold clock you from the side. It's how to be aware of all that kind of situation and how to diffuse a situation, get out of a fight. And that's always best. But I know pride and anger, all that can happen. And if you do find yourself in a fight, it's good to train your mind and your brain through full contact sparring. You want to start out with obviously slow and get better and better to where it gets harder and harder and harder. Your partner goes harder and harder on you. And if you have more than one friend, you can also start having them do these scenarios to where you can train your mind to be aware of getting jumped, and also how to fight multiple people. You need friends to do that too. You need to train that. They wear the gloves. You wear the gloves. You can wear the head. They can wear the head. You can wear the headgear, and train for that specific scenario where more than one person's fighting from different angles. And a lot of that will be in the course, but some of it will be for free too. So anyway, let's help stop fucking bullies. It's bullshit, and give people street awareness so that they can at least have some basic understanding of how to fight and not get their ass whooped so easily. And honestly, the first part of the course and a lot of stuff I teach on the site is how to get someone to the ground and wear them out. Because most people don't know how to fight on the ground. Most fights go to the ground. You need to know how to fight on the ground, since it's going to go there most likely anyway. Or if you want to be a stand-up fighter and that's what you prefer and want to be really good at that, I teach that in more advanced lessons for those that want to do that. That's for more of the athletic person but the main core of the martial art is for everybody, for females, for skinny, for fat, for buff. It's for everybody, for any body type, for non-athletic people, for athletic people. It's a way that you can get the upper hand advantage and not lose. The more advanced techniques would be like, hey, I don't want to go to the ground. I want to keep it standing up for whatever reason. Maybe you want to go into boxing, or not boxing wouldn't matter, but because you can't take the ground in boxing. Maybe you want to go MMA or something like that, some sort of fighting like that. Then you need to know how to defend against takedowns, and at least know some basic defense against jiu-jitsu and stuff for those that do know how to do that, and some basic defense against wrestling and things like that, so you don't get your fucking face pounded on the ground, and how to get it back up and standing, which is something that Conor McGregor is really good at. How to stuff opponents that are trying to take him down. He's not an easy opponent to take down. And there's a couple simple techniques you can learn that help you not go to the ground to keep it standing. But if you don't know how to do that, and there's still a chance, even if you know how to do all that, you can still get taken to the ground. So you need to know how to defend yourself on the ground. It's important. Anyway, so that's that, guys. Thanks for watching. So if you guys want to help support this channel, I ask, go and support that channel. Just go leave a comment on my videos, and maybe subscribe so the subscribe base start going up and stuff like that. Hit that like button or hit the share button. That's like a super big thing. Hitting the share button and sharing, or copy and pasting the link and sharing it in Facebook, sharing it in your social media sites or Google Plus, whatever it is. That really helps a lot, guys. It really does. And that's how you really get a channel to start getting built, to get people to start, sharing your videos, and that's number one. And also liking them is good. Subscribing obviously is good. Commenting is a big thing. So, and if you could do all that that's awesome. If you want to comment, subscribe, hit the thumbs up and share the shit out of it, that's awesome. But if there's only one thing that you want to do, please go and share it. And that's like the biggest thing you can do to help it grow faster, is sharing it on your social media networks. If you don't have a whole lot of friends, though, the best thing you can probably do is leave a comment. All right, guys. Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for all your support, for everything. I'm going to continue bringing you guys good content. And I'm not going to always make my videos long like this, teaching all this other stuff about my life and all that kind of stuff. But I figured I'm trying to build that site up, so now is the best time to do that. And eventually it'll be to where I only mention it once in a while, and maybe we'll just mention it briefly, But yeah, so that's that, and stay tuned for some live questions and answers and shit like that, and a lot more learning, because in between grows, that's when I like to do a lot of my learning stuff. That is a lot of my tips and shit like that. How to do this, how to do that. How not to do things like that. So yeah, double peace.